Welcome back to the Classic Game Room Interview Series. Today with a very special interview, a movie director, a film director. It's Brad Crawford, the producer, director, writer, and editor of 100 Yen, the Japanese arcade experience.
That's right.
That's a fun title.
Oh, it's a long title. It's too long, and it shows you why I've been working on this project for 2 years.
Well, that's about the length that it takes to make a feature-length documentary film, if I'm not mistaken, because I spent about 7 years making documentaries, and I know the ups and downs of at least my experience. Maybe yours is different. But let's get started by talking about what the film is. This is a documentary about the Japanese arcade experience and how it differs from American arcades. Why don't you kick it off? What is 100 Yen, the Japanese arcade experience, about?
Sure. It's all about the history of arcades in Japan. So we started off with Space Invaders. How did Space Invaders kind of take the nation by storm? We kind of it's an educational experience. I mean, for people, this isn't. I mean, it'll have stuff for the hardcore fans, of course, but it's for people who don't even realize that arcades are still around. I mean, it's really about explaining and exploring what the Japanese arcades are all about.
Well, what are the Japanese arcades all about? That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a long answer, I think, but I mean, it's all about the evolution of video games and social interaction in these public spaces that contain our favorite, pastimes. Mm-hmm. Claw games, music games, shooting games, fighting games. All of those things still exist, and they're exciting and vibrant and Japanese.
Now you're Canadian, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so you are familiar with the North American demise of arcades, unless they're like living and breathing in Canada, and I don't know about it, but.
No, they're pretty much gone from Canada. There's a few, but not something that we can call an arcade culture, I think.
No, I miss that myself, actually. I have fond memories of the arcades, which is why I'm basically assembling my own arcade in our studio set here for Classic Game Room. I've got it started with 3 arcade machines and pinball. We've got
nice. What do you got?
Centipede, Frenzy, Rolling Thunder, and then Black Hole Pinball.
Awesome.
So it's a pretty kick-ass arcade. I'm looking forward to the next time I can just sneak a six-pack in here and why do I say sneak? Proudly drag a six-pack in here.
There you go.
And rock the Frenzy and Centipede machine when I'm in the mood. But what? And I know this is probably covered in the film, but what's the really short answer on this? Why have arcades disappeared from the West yet continue to flourish in Japan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in North America, especially, the console release definitely hurt arcades. I mean, not that it didn't hurt it in Japan either. I mean, the accessibility of video games obviously changed things up a little bit, but in Japan, they have like a train culture. It's mm-hmm. population density. There's people everywhere. And so there's a lot of foot traffic, and arcades really cater to foot traffic. I mean, there's the crane games, the prize redemption games right out on the streets. They've got the music games, the flashy games right there too. So you're walking down the street with these redemption games out on the street, and you're drawn into these locations. I mean, you want to go into arcades and you want to experience what they have, see what they have to offer, because it's right out in front of your face, and mm-hmm. there's people everywhere. So it keeps it busy. Whereas I think in North America, we'd have, our homes become these entertainment locations. So
it's more of the social scene in Japan.
Yeah. Instead of inviting people over to your home, you all meet in a central location and hit up the arcade to play games or have fun.
See, I miss that.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like going to the arcades. And the thing I've noticed, I mean, I guess I've known this all my life, but I think more lately, now that I do more work with the art and concept of video games and talking about them and what makes one different from the other, when getting a few arcade games here into the set, if I want to just have a short fix, 10, 15 minutes, can play with one of the other guys around the office, it's a fun short little just get together or a fun challenge to try to get a high score at Frenzy or Centipede and then just move on to something else. And console games are designed to take the rest of your life to play now.
Right.
Which is very. It's like games have become antisocial in that respect, whereas arcade games are social.
Absolutely, yeah. Now it's like 80 hours is short. It's like, well, what about 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think 5 minutes is plenty of time just to, at least a couple short games.
Yeah, well,
But
you can play lots of 5-minute games.
so obviously you've spent some time in Japan, and you must have enjoyed the arcade experience over there.
Yeah, I lived there for 3 years, and living there, I mean, you can't miss it. I mean, it's everywhere. So I was excited to see that arcades are still around, and really, when I got back to Canada, that's when it hit me, and I was like, wow, we don't have that anymore, and this needs to be explored, because people don't even realize that arcade culture is still around, especially in Japan, and that it's as popular as it is.
Well, how did this film project start?
So, as I said, I lived in Japan for 3 years, and when I came home, I got back, and it was like, okay, I started my own film company, so I started producing films, and I went back. I had a chance to go back to Japan for my friend's wedding, and that was a perfect opportunity. I was like, okay, well, I'm going back. Let's make this movie. So it was just me and a camera and a microphone, just running around Japan, capturing as much as I could, and I put up a trailer on the internet saying, like, on Indiegogo, saying, if you guys like this, I made a little trailer. It's nothing crazy, but check it out. And it became fairly popular, and I managed to raise enough money to go back to Japan. And so that's what we did. We got proper people involved. We got Taito, we got Sega, we got some interesting gamers like Daigo Umehara and some classic shooting game players. And we went back and we filmed them with a crew, with lighting, with the whole deal. So that's kind of how it all evolved into a proper movie. And now we've just been editing for the last year, basically.